Hey, welcome everybody to this demo with Doug Clarke. And I just want to say that I'm going to be navigating for Doug in the next sessions. Doug is an experienced artist in both oil painting and Procreate. And tonight he's doing a demo on Procreate. So welcome everybody. Hi, Doug.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Nice to see you. Is it Joni or Johnny? Joni. Nice to meet you, Joni, and nice to meet you, Judy. So today I'm going to be doing a painting demo using Procreate, and kind of just to share my working process so you can see. We'll be offering a Procreate course. I believe it's going to be a 3-day course back to back. And that will be offering that probably in the coming months or two. And so I'm working with Mike on getting that facilitated. And then also we'll be kicking off my my mentorship group as well, which is Dee is hopefully will be able to join in and assist me with that if she's able to squeeze me in with her busy schedule.
We'll see.
And so welcome everybody. So I'll just where we got 7 o'clock now. So I'm just going to go ahead and start with my keynote, and that'll give time for people to jump in real quick. And so so welcome. This is my Procreate demo painting, and I'm Doug Clarke. And this is specifically for Mastrius. And so a little bit about me. So I'm an oil and digital painter. So I've been digitally painting for, I forgot, let's just say I've been digital painting before I even got a Wacom tablet, Wacom tablet. I was doing it with the mouse, and it was interesting. Not always easy. Thankfully, within a couple months, I gotten a Wacom tablet, and then years later, working with Apple and using the Apple Pencil, I was able to, really excel. And it's an amazing program. Procreate is. I've been used different programs such as Photoshop and Painter, Corel Painter, and Art Rage, and a bunch of other programs, and they're all wonderful programs. And I will say that out of all of the programs, Procreate is probably the most easiest to use, which is fantastic. As far as the interface is super easy, and as far as navigation, you can get complex, but for the most part, anybody can pick this up and draw in less than 5 minutes. It's that easy. So in addition, I'm also a commercial art teacher by day and a painting instructor at night. I teach evening schools at night, and I'm about to start an oil painting class with water-soluble oils. And last fall, I was teaching a digital painting course. And so I do teach, and then I taught for 15 years at Apple before teaching for Norfolk Public Schools and the commercial art program for their vocational department. And I'm also a plein air painter. I'm assuming everybody here knows what plein air painting is, outdoor painting. So I go to different events. I've been doing this for about 10 years. Yeah, a little more than 10 years now. I've been doing that. I've been doing various outdoor painting competitions, and as far as there's local ones I do, and then some I travel for. On the slate right now, I've got one local that's coastal Virginia, and the next one is Easton Plein Air, which is probably the Super Bowl of all of the outdoor painting competitions. So it's a little bit about me.
You won an award.
I'm sorry?
You won an award with that. Was it last year with your plein air painting?
Second place at I think the last award I got was second place at the quick draw.
Okay.
So, but
cool.
yeah. Yeah, I have not won any awards at Easton yet, but you know, that's stiff competition there.
Yeah,
Um,
good.
but I'll be sharing some examples of my work here, specifically with Procreate, just to kind of give it a little bit about it. And I'm going to give you guys a breakdown workflow of my digital painting process with Procreate, and you know, taking Q&A questions with how I use it, shortcuts I use, common things that I use with this. And so hopefully that'll cover a little bit about it. So if you're curious about Procreate, anybody here, how many people here are using Procreate, just out of curiosity? I see one, and nobody else, everybody else is, I guess, no. Okay, fine.
I have it, but that's it.
Okay, okay. So I'm going to be sharing with you with that. So let's go ahead and show a little bit, get started with showing some of my work. Happy, happy, joy, joy. If you've watched the cartoon, you know. So one of the things that I love about Procreate and the iPad is you can draw just about anywhere. And this was done while waiting for my flight to take off at O'Hare Airport in Chicago. One of the things I love about Procreate is you can create your own custom brushes. And so you can, this one was created with a couple custom brushes that I made, and specifically using Japanese newspaper. And so if you can see there, you might be able to spot some of the Japanese characters in there. And it just makes a wonderful way to create texture. And that's what I love about Procreate, is being able to create texture, just like you do with oil painting. You create this kind of, how would you say, interesting surface. And sometimes it lends itself to the mood and allows spaces for imagination versus, you know, being so literal with it. And here's another one. And typically what I would recommend anybody to start out with Procreate is to, you know, or any program, is just start out with black and white. So that way you're not having to mess around with color and throw that into the mix. Start out with black and white, and then, you know, you get to learn the tools, and then you're not so worried about, you know, color theory and everything. So if you find a program that seems a little bit overwhelming, just go black and white, and then just focus on, pick one brush and see what you can do with it. And this was just created with one brush, and this is my baking pan brush. This literally, this brush that I've created, I do multiple, I would say most of my digital paintings and Procreate, was created from taking a photo of my baking pan that we've had for 20 plus years, since we got the baking pan when we were married as a wedding gift. So it's seen some hard times and scouring, and it just is a wonderful texture. And that's one of the things that I'll be teaching in my course is, you know, how to create these custom brushes. This is another one. This was before my baking pan brush. I'd found some other brushes, and I think this was kind of my aha moment. And this one is of my daughter. She's just about to outgrow her little tricycle there, and it was this fun little moment there. And this is, you know, when I've gotten this is also with my baking pan brush. This is, you know, when I really felt like, oh, okay, this is aha moment, and this really looks much different than a lot of the digital art I see out there, which kind of looks smooth and glossy, and I like the texture that you can create. And this one is another one of portrait of John Lewis, civil rights person, and you know, you can really get a lot of great texture out. And one of the best compliments I've gotten from my peers is that they'll say, Doug, you know, sometimes I can't tell whether you're doing your oil painting or your digital painting. And for me, that's a huge compliment. That means that I've got a look and feel that and flow that is similar to my oil painting. And they both complement each other. And I can definitely say that doing a lot of demos for Apple, you know, for some years, you know, really helped my color sense. And even though I wasn't painting with oils, I felt I was getting significantly better just because I was painting, you know, even if it was digitally. So I owe a lot of how my styles evolved to, you know, painting digitally. And it's allowed me to, create a, how would you say, a new voice, if you will, and kind of go into some more fantasy art, if you will. And so take a little bit of my plein air experience and then create a digital night scene of a fictitious city that, kind of, I wanted something that evoked, Japan, but also had a Vegas feel to it. And I put some retro cars in there. So something that, kind of was, fantastical and yet modern or a little bit futuristic. And those were all created with different texture brushes. Here's another one where you can see I used newspaper print and to create some of my brushes and textures. And this is just a wonderful thing to do when, it's just another element. And here's another one that I reworked recently. And that's the nice thing about this is that, with digital, you can go back and rework, set it aside for a year, come back and rework again. It doesn't dry, it doesn't, you do want to make sure you back up all your files, but it's a lot of fun and you can take this anywhere. The majority of this, I think I would say 90% of this, I did it sitting at a table waiting for my food. And so this was just a really cool bar scene. I took I used the bar as a reference, and then people would come in and stand in certain areas, and I'd just do a little quick gesture, and then, work a little bit areas, and then go back to the overall scene. And, this was just a really fun scene. Of course, I've embellished a lot with this to kind of give it that mood. And I think that's the one thing with my mantra for this year has been, creating paintings that have mood to it, whether I'm doing digital or painting. And I think this is another one. This was from a scene from Puerto Rico. And so, just basically, these photos that you take when you're traveling, you just, can comp them up. And one day I'll probably get to do a larger painting of this. I just haven't gotten around to it. That's another thing about Procreate is you can kind of like do a comp sketch and see if, how will this work? Do I need to make move figures around? And how can I better tell the story? And so it's a lot of fun. And so
Johnny's raised her hand.
yeah, say Johnny.
Oh, I just have I love what you do. So I have a fast question. I have an iPad mini. That's, I don't know, 4th or 5th generation. And I have a earlier iPad, a bigger iPad. And I have a pencil. So I'm just wondering what size pads do you use, and can you do it with a number 1 pencil, or do I have to buy a number 2 pencil? 2nd generation.
For the 2nd generation iPad, you'll need a 1st generation pencil. If it's the 12-inch.
Okay, and what about, do you use the bigger iPads, or do you do this on mini?
I do an 11. I do an 11 and a half iPad. I don't like a big iPad. It's too bulky to carry around. So
and then you use a 2 and a 2 where 1 would be on the earlier one, and 2 I would need a 2nd generation I would need on a later one. Is that it?
When in doubt, call Apple, give them the serial number. They'll let you know exactly what you need.
Great, super.
Once you give them the serial number, they'll know exactly. And that way you don't waste time buying something that's not the right fit.
Okay, great, super. Thank you.
They'll be awesome, and they'll help you
I
out.
love Apple. I worship Apple. So
the one thing I will say is that this particular painting here, and I've been using Procreate before there was an Apple Pencil. I got it free at Starbucks as app of the day, app of the week, when they had that as like app of the month or app of the week. And I got it for my daughter, and she, she's 10 now, but she was using it at 2. And just using fingers. And I brought it to the drawing group, and I was doing I was just using my finger, and it was an incredible app. And when the pencil came out, I was just like, oh, this is gangbusters. This is going to be amazing. So here's another example. And I'll see if I can pull up this file. This was an oil painting that I reworked. So I have an original oil painting and I just reworked it digitally to make it completely different. And, you know, to kind of give new life to a piece of work you like, but then you want a different variation of it. And so I think this is, you know, really amazing to do. And then this, you know, as far as drawing out of your imagination, this is just one of those ones that was around the holidays, and it was when I was just, you know, playing around. And this was just an, you know, a fun, I think I had a little bit of a Peter Pan from the movie inspiration, but this was just a lot of fun, you know, just to create this imaginative scene. And maybe it's London, I'm guessing. It could be Europe, you know, and just these street scenes, and with Santa Claus and Rudolph at the front, you know, going up. And so, you know, it was a lot of fun. And that's the nice thing about this, was that, you know, whatever painting experience you have, you can bring to Procreate, and it's a lot of fun.
Doug?
So, yes,
Anna has the question.
I have a
Sure.
question for you. So when you were saying that you're showing us that painting, you said like it was an oil painting. So, and you said I reworked it.
yeah,
Did you take a picture of it
always
and you upload it into Procreate,
correct.
and then you modified that? Like you didn't start from zero.
No,
Okay.
yeah, and that particular New York scene, I had, yeah, I mean, it was just started from a photo that I took before I even really got into painting, when I was on a trip to New York, and then did an oil painting, and then from there said, hey, let me bring it into Procreate and see what I can do differently. And so, yeah, so let's dive into Procreate a little bit. And so I'll actually take you to that painting. We'll do a little breakdown. So I'm going to go through here, and you can see I have quite a library. And I use this for professional illustration as well. Oh, here we go. So New York City, Futura. Let's open this one up, because I think this is a good example to kind of show you. These are layers, and these are all the layers that are involved with Procreate. And I'll just take you through a quick deep dive and show you the original painting, so that you guys, I'm just going to go through, I'm going to turn off all of the different layers. Usually I like to work with just one layer for the most part, but this was different. So here, oh, no, not quite. Almost there. Almost there. There we go. Here was the oil painting. So here's my oil painting. I said, okay, this is kind of cool. Let me see what I can do with this as a stage to launch pad off. And the first thing that I did in here was I started using what we call the smudge tool. I just started smudging things around and just, you know, pushing things around. And then from there, I added, you know, more smudging and painting. And then I throw a screen on top. I mask it out. I start then adding more blocking in areas, adding more detail and more detail, masking, details, details, and then signature. And so that, in a nutshell, and I'll just zoom in a little bit, as you can kind of see here some of the textures. So you can see some of the canvases peeking through. And then, you know, I've got different brushes. There's some of that Japanese brush work there. So even in here, you can see some of the newspaper print right there. So
Amazing.
this is a lot of fun. And, you know, for me, it's a way to offer digital prints of my work that, you know, some people want some of my work and they can't afford the oil paintings, but, you know, and it's a different way to have a different price tier, if you will. So yeah, it's just a lot of fun. So I'm going to go back, and I'm going to jump into the demo with the rest of the time, but I wanted to kind of, we'll go over here. And one of the things that's really great about it, and I'll go ahead and turn that off real quick. And I'm just quickly go over the tools just real quick. Over here is your brushes. So this big brush, small brush. And then this is the opacity. How much paint do you have loaded on that brush? A lot or a little? And then if I make any marks, oops, I'm on the smudge tool there. If I make any marks, I can always hit the undo button, which is right here. I know if you look at the screen there, it's a little small. Let me see if I can move that up just a little bit. There. Yeah, I'll just move it here, right there. That's the undo. So undo, redo. Easy peasy. From here, the only thing you really need to concern yourself with is the brushes. And so you can do big brush, small brush. You can smudge, which is huge because Photoshop does not do smudging well. And I do a lot of just building and destroying with my oil painting. So for me, it just makes the most sense. And you can smudge and smear with different brushes. You have your eraser, so you can erase, and then you have your layers. Has anybody here worked with Photoshop at all? No? Okay, so layers is like, imagine clear acetate, and they sit over top of each other. And so that's what a layer is. And you can work with multiple layers. You can just do everything in one layer and not worry about all of the layers that I showed you, like in the other digital painting. And last but not least, your colors. And so this is your color wheel, and that's found at the bottom there where it says disc. And this is my favorite one. You have other options here. I think they're too complicated. I love this. This makes the most sense to me. So this is your colors, and then this is your values. So white, black, and then color value. Somewhere in the middle is gray. If you go to the right, it's a warm color. Go to the left, it's a cool color. Any questions? Pretty easy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great.
it is. It's super easy. So one of the things I'm going to show you guys is that you can bring your reference in. You can also split screen, but they've improved the reference so much that I don't use it anymore. And so this allows you to then go into your photo library and then bring reference in. And so this is my friend Ifat, and she has been the subject of a lot of my digital paintings. And if you haven't checked out, there's a great program. It's called Museum now, but it used to be Sketchy, and it allows users to upload photos for artists to use as reference. And so it's a great app called Museum. It used to be called Sketchy. I think they wanted to get away from Sketchy. I don't know about the term museum. It doesn't feel like a museum, but you know, either way, it's a great program for just finding people. I will warn you, you will need to dumpster dive because there's a lot of not good references in there. People just don't know how to take pictures, but occasionally you'll find gems like this, which is great. So I'm gonna you can size your reference, which is also nice. So you can pinch in and zoom. And I just usually like to have it rough about the same size as this. And here we go. So I think what are we doing on time? Okay, yeah. So I got about 40 minutes, no pressure. I'm just going to size it about this just so that I have it here. So, and I kind of do the same thing with my oil painting here. This process is I just start massing shapes in. So I paint by block method. I don't go and draw pencil work. So I'm just going to start massing in shapes. And this is my baking brush pan that I was telling you guys about. I'm going to dull that just a little bit here. And I just start knocking shapes out. Now, I'll also do this with my plein air. I just start knocking shapes out as fast as I can. The one thing I will do differently with my oil painting is that I will kind of mass shapes in with a yellow ochre first, just to get position. But here I don't have to worry about that. You could, but I don't necessarily worry about that here. One of the other thing that's really cool about this is if you're not good at picking colors, is you can actually take your finger, and that's why I have the camera over here. You can put your finger down and then just, you don't want to do this with your pencil. You want to just use your finger, hold down for a second, don't move it, and then you can pick a color. So So just like this, I tend not to do this because I really kind of like the idea of me being in control of picking my colors. So that's that. So we'll just do that here and just knock some things out. And then I can use the same finger to go back and pick colors that I've already laid down. So just take your finger, hold it down. Boom, you get a little circle. You just move that circle where the target is and you've got your color. So it's one of the most easiest programs to use and the least intimidating. And having taught Photoshop at a college level, I can tell you that even Photoshop for beginners sometimes can feel daunting. So I'm just going to mass in shapes here, and I'm going to then start just do my T a little bit. So just sometimes people will do a T just to kind of get the angle of the face. I'll probably go down, and this is kind of where I like to pick up my own colors, because I find that it helps keep my sense of colors better. Does that make sense? I'm able to choose better on my colors. I'm gonna pull my brightness up a little bit there. There we go. It's getting darker here, so now I can use a smudge tool as well. So I'll use my smudge tool to kind of shape things, and I use the same brush for that. So, and this is what I like about building and destroying. So I'll just put that in there. And so I'll just put points where I think the eyes needs to be when I shape the nose. And any time you guys want to ask a question, feel free to, because I can usually run my mouth and talk and paint at the same time. I can't run and talk at the same time, but I can paint and talk at the same time.
Doug, when one of my friends, she has done Procreate images, has them printed on canvas.
Yep.
And then takes them to the next level with her oil paint.
That's fine too.
Any thoughts on that?
No, it's canvas. I don't have anything negative to say about it. I think it's great. I'd imagine that there might be, I have not gone to that step yet. But I imagine that there's probably a good idea to put some like Liquitex gel on there to, how would you say, prevent any of the if they're painting with like a some kind of petroleum distillate medium, to keep it from eating the canvas. Right, gotcha. That would be my only concern, but I don't have anything. I definitely don't have anything against anybody doing that. I kind of gotten, how do you say, when I was first doing, because a lot of people knew me as a painter, and so as I started doing these digital plein air pieces, people were kind of like not really getting a lot of favorable response. I'll just leave it at that. And the thing is and for some reason, at some point, people are like, "Oh, okay." It just suddenly overnight became accepted, and I was like, "Okay, nice." But yeah, it's there. I would get some grief from people, trying to troll me for, I don't think digital paintings were, it's all nonsense. It's not worthy of time. And I'm like, okay, that's your opinion.
Just wait.
But it's still, and I still hold true to this argument, and I don't. The thought process is the same. I don't care who you are. I would say this to anybody trying to argue that it's not the same. The thought process is the same. The technique, it's a different tool. And this is what I try to tell my students. Don't try to make a digital program an emulator for don't make it an emulator for with the real thing. Like a lot of these programs, and I'm speaking in general terms here, not just Procreate, we'll say watercolor, oil. Don't treat it like oil. And they're just trying to give you a description of how it will react, but don't try and make it look like oil. Just accept it for what it is and tackle and be open for, you know, it being its own unique tool. You'll be happier and won't be beating your head of like, it doesn't do what I want it to do, because it doesn't, you know, it's not going to be oils. It's not going to be watercolors. It's not going to be any of those. These are its own unique tools, and they should be treated as such. They should not, you should not try to make something it really isn't. Now some people say, well, I don't like the glide on there and it glides too much. And I'm like, well, you know, it's a different tool. And I know people will, you know, say, try to get some kind of like plastic covering. I don't bother, you know, with that, because I've seen plastic get, you know, how do you say, it gets scratched, it dinged. The glass on the Apple iPads are really strong, so they there isn't a how would you say, there isn't a downside on the glass, except for, you know, just the initial how do you say, texture in the field. But you know, there's nothing wrong with them. I just like, I'm not going to spend money on something that, you know, isn't going to be as strong as the glass. And I worry about the tip too, you know, wearing away the tip. I've yet to wear away any of these tips. And, you know, at some point I've been, you know, drawing 8 hours a day on these things. So
That's good to know.
the tips are replaceable. I think it's like $20, maybe $25 for a 4-pack. That's nothing. You know, I mean, how much do you spend on brushes, really?
Right.
When your pieces are finished, do you then print them up, or do you leave them totally digitally?
I mean, I've printed some for friends when I do portraits and stuff of friends. You know, but I think it just depends. I haven't really done a lot. I'll do print on demand, but I don't do outdoor shows like the art fairs. I don't do those. Me personally, I found it was a lot of time and effort and such a mixed bag of reward and risk.
Yeah.
To put it as delicately as I can. There was a lot of risk versus reward, and I don't have a van. I work full time, so I'm not a nomadic artist that can, you know, travel. I think if I was a nomadic artist, it definitely would have been more, I probably would have had a better setup. And I do have friends that, you know, do that, and they're very successful at it. But I think, yeah, and I've seen people do digital paintings and do well with those too, and sell them as prints and you know, do the outdoor markets. I think it just really depends on, you know, what you want to do. I think with print on demand and people now, I think COVID kicked everything into high gear as far as being more acceptable to you know, digital painting or buying paintings sight unseen, except for on the internet. You know, remember there were some galleries that said, oh, nobody's going to buy original oil painting online. They want to see it first in person. And COVID just pretty much dispelled that. So, so how are you doing on time here? Okay, yeah. So that's
Do you want me to let you know when it's a particular time?
No, I'm pretty good at keeping time here. So,
All right, good.
so
Okay.
if anybody has any questions about my process, you know, like I said, I'm happy to share. You can see here, I'm just going back and sampling some of the colors I've already laid down. And this is where you can kind of zoom in if you want to kind of, you know, get
what do you see your class? How do you envision your class? I mean, because I love what you're doing, but I couldn't do it now after watching you because it's all going too fast. So how do you envision your class proceeding?
Good question. So a lot of it, my first class is going to be for beginners. We're just going to go over the interface and, make sure everybody understands where things are and how it is. And then from there, I'll give a small assignment of just go out and, do a little drawing, a simple drawing. And I'll be doing demos and taking questions. And when we come back, the next class, little show and tell, if anybody wants to send their digital painting to me, I can, kind of mark up some ideas of how you can improve it. So it's in some ways it's gonna be a technical class of like how to use Procreate, but then also a painting theory, color theory class as well. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's definitely going to be geared towards beginners to Procreate, as well as, people who might be new to digital painting as well, because it is a little bit of a different mindset, but I don't see it that much of a difference. It's just, how do you say it? You put in the time, you'll get out what you put in. And it's just so enjoyable. That's the thing I love about this. This is like, anybody who knows me knows I'm never without my iPad. I literally am. If I'm always with my iPad. It is like, I wouldn't say I feel naked without it, but I would say that, I definitely, it is part of, anytime I think there might be some downtime, I will have my iPad. Went to the, mechanic because my wife had a hole in her tire. And what was really nice is I was able to, work on stuff. And while I'm there. And so now the other thing I really like about the iPad versus the Wacom tablet is the tilt. You can really tilt your brushes. You can tilt, and it is pressure sensitive as well. So and there's a lot of great brushes. I mean, I could literally spend a whole class on brush making. But for this one, I just wanted to kind of cover a little bit of a demo and how I go about creating my work so that it demystifies Procreate, and as far as how you can create works with this. And so I can, like you can see here, I can just go back to the cheek, get cheek here, get that nice little warm pink and put it right on that chin. So.
Doug, this whole time you're using exactly the same brush?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you just use a textured brush.
Yeah, this is my baking pan brush. And so I wanted to kind of, towards the end, I'm going to bring in, so probably at the 10-minute mark, I'll probably bring in some other brushes to give you an example for the shawl. That's why I picked this one, because I said this would be a great opportunity to show some of what you can do with those textures. But for the heavy work, if you will, I am using one brush. And I would say is that, that's why I tend to, when I'm painting plein air, I usually try to find a good utility brush that allows me to paint thin and thick. And I usually rely on flats or filberts lately to do just that, because it allows me to get the bulk of the work done. And then once I've got everything kind of blocked in, at that point, everything is good to go. Let's zoom out a little bit. Okay. So I'll go to the hair and I'll put in for that. And I'll make an executive decision here. Let's go ahead and make this red too. That might be fun rather than there.
Doug, when you're doing plein air, do you have to make any like special adjustments for lighting with your iPad or?
Absolutely. You don't want to be in direct sun.
Yeah.
No. You could overheat your iPad. I took my students out and to do some outdoor, we had a nice day during the winter, and I took them outside and to do some observational painting digitally. And I kept telling them, I said, you need to get in the shade. Oh, I'm all right. And then, Mr. Clarke, the iPad says it's shutting down. And I said, no, you've just hit the heat warning.
Yeah.
And so that's the amazing thing about Apple is it's like it says, okay, we're getting too much heat. We're gonna shut it down for you. And so it'll just put it in, it'll just turn it off to keep it from overheating. I mean, it's an electronic device. They're not impervious. I know the Kindle ones are really great. But the problem with those Kindles is that, while it reads great and, you can take them down to the beach, they're not designed for art, for drawing. They're designed specifically for reading. So I think I've seen the Kindles in broad daylight. I think they're amazing. I think if you're going to, you want a digital reader to go out on the beach, that's the tool. So, everything has its own, pros and cons, if you get what I'm saying. So I'm not one of those absolutes. I'm not anti Android or I'm not one of those people that just poo-poo. I mean, everybody has their own, how would you say, preferences. So, all right. So as you can see here, I'm kind of getting things masked in a little bit, and it's where I can zoom in. And to zoom in, all you do is really just take 2 fingers and you can rotate if you need to. And so this is where I just start to, maybe I want to go and get a little bit of red in there, and then I use a lot of how do you smudging in Procreate, because this is where I feel I get my textures from, that smudging. And it really clicked when I built my own brushes and started smudging. I was like, oh man, this is fantastic. This feels unpredictable. That's what I like about it. There's a lot of people that will use the round brushes for Photoshop and other great apps. But my personal thing that I didn't want was to look like everybody else. I didn't want, I wanted my digital paintings to be me and really have my own voice, if that rings with anybody. And I think that's, through experimentation, you have to find your own, tool sets that ring true with you and give you your voice. If that makes sense to everybody. I mean, how many people here have a favorite brush, style of brush? Like if you could only do one brush, how many of you would just stick to that one brush? I'm sure there's probably a couple of you that would say, this is my brush and I can't really paint without it. And so, and this is what I like about the smudge tool here, is that you can kind of go in here and just slowly carve away, get those nuances. There we go. So fade that highlight. See how I'm just fading the highlight out and blending it more? Just
Cool.
pushing it down. Let's see how we're doing on time. Okay, we're doing good. And it looks to be a little bit of red and just a little bit cooler. This is where I try and look for, ways to warm and cool things off a little bit. Do that, and then we got a little bit of brighter highlight here, right where the tear duct is, near the tear duct. A little bit of pink here. There we go. So and of course she has a little bit. We worked there we go, just a little bit. And then you can see just a slight dull highlight. Let's go with something that's not so bright. I'm going to dumb it down a little bit. This is where I can switch to a smaller brush or a different brush. So this is another brush that I've made. It's a sable. I call it a sable just so I know what it's like. Let's see here. Let's see. There, that's perfect. And the sable brushes are great for, that's what my sable looks like. If I hold it down, you can kind of see there, like a little spiral. And I can then go here and up my opacity. So you can see here how it kind of has a radically different feel than the other brushes. And so you can kind of, and then I can just go, I can also like build in with a sable and then dirty it up with my baking pan brush, which is nice too. And so we'll just do a little highlight there. Get a little bit more blue. There. Try that. That's a little bit better. Okay. A little bit of highlight on the lip. Yeah, this is kind of really a rough, I wouldn't expect finish. Yeah, so like I can use that sable and then to do the lip and then switch back to my baking pan brush and add, a little bit more a highlight there. And go over here and highlight right on the corner. And this is the one thing I love about this is you're still drawing, you're still painting, you're still doing the thought process to creating works of art. It's not once you get past it, and that's what I love about Procreate is it really is the fastest tool to get to creating without having to spend time learning.
I love the cleanup process of painting with Procreate.
Yeah, it's just wonderful. I mean, I can't say enough about it. It's just an amazing program. So I just want to get a little bit more there, and then there. Smooth out that chin just a little bit. And so I feel like this is what I like about it is I feel like I've gotten a painterly feel with this, and as I've gone through, there we go. So I can dirty up a little bit here so the hairline is not as prominent. Maybe just a little bit there. I'm gonna say the last 10 minutes for the shawl with the texture. Let's go down here. I probably could narrow down that neckline. So let's go a little bit darker here under the neckline here. So there we go. We'll go in a little bit, carve out that shadow. Yeah. We're going to go and get that paint from the cheek. There's a little bit on her chest. Go ahead and build that in a little bit. There's a little bit over here on that shoulder. And we'll just blend it in so it's not such a hard line. Got to get the clavicle a little bit on the neck here and there. Just a little bit on highlight. And then there's that shadow. We need to go to a warmer shadow. So let's go over here and build that in. I guess I could have reconstructed this a little bit better. Let's see if we can get close enough for now. This is what I like about it is that you can build and destroy. I don't want that hair to be so dominant. And that's what I love about painting is that, that build, destroy. And I would notice that, in a couple times of watching like Richard Schmid, there were areas that you could, those hard and soft edges he talks about so frequently or did. That's the magic of painting is leaving those areas where you can imagine it without having to spell it out. I think that's the one thing that there's digital paintings and paintings. I like that mystery of a little bit of information to give me an imagination, not to spell everything out. Not everything needs to be told. It's like being a movie director. You're in charge of what you're going to share with the audience. You're picking who the stars are in your painting and who the actors are. So kind of try to be a Alfred Hitchcock, if you will. You're in charge of that. So, and let's see, we're going to go with a darker red here, and let's go down and cool. And this is what I really like about picking my own colors, because it helps me keep in tuned with warm and cool and when to add it, when not to. Let's add a little bit of, okay, we're at that mark now. So we've got a little bit of things they could probably work on, but for the most part, let's go to the shawl, because I want to talk about textures here and how you can have fun with it in the background. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to go over my brush and I'm going to share with you some of the others. Let's go to the newsprint. So this was just a photo of a newsprint, retro newsprint. And let's go and add, we're going to go add the background first. So we're going to go with this light blue, it's a little bit cooler. There we go. I like that cooler. So there we go. And just to remind you, I'm only working in one layer. I've not deviated from multiple layers. I just pretty much, I'm working on one layer. And so I'm just basically building in texture, and I might go over a little bit with the shawl. There we go. And then we go here. Well, let's add a little bit more hot white to that. And let's go with a different one. Let's try the Japanese one here. So Japanese newspaper. Yeah, right there. That's what I want right there. So now I'm building that in. And let's then go to, now we're on time. We're doing great. I'm going to go to my gold here and get a little bit more gold. And we're going to build that band. So that gold band right there. So we build that.
Doug, with these like newsprint newsprints that you have, did you find those or does it come with the app?
No, I found them.
Mm.
Yeah, I trolled the internet. I looked for old newspaper prints and something that was in the 40s or 50s, because I thought they were just fun. And let's go ahead and go with a different print. Let's try a different Japanese print. So this is a different one here. There we go. So a little different there. Put this here. There we go.
So you could do that with like any images. It's almost like using stencils in a way, right? Like here.
Yeah, it's totally up to you. Your imagination is the only thing holding you back. What you think might work. And then of course I'm going to smudge. And let's get a little bit of, we'll go ahead and we're going to try a different one now. Here's another Japanese newspaper. I love the textures that they create. So if you're wondering why I keep going to these Japanese, is because they have just these great textures that you wouldn't have thought, but they do. And it's unpredictability that I really love about it. I don't know what I'm going to get, so I'll put it down. It may not work, it may. So when I put these, I think my baking pan brush is probably the only one I would say that I kind of know what it's going to do every time I mark it, but I've been working with it for so long. That's why, if that makes any sense. So we're doing great. So that was just 3 minutes. And you can see I've already got a nice texture. Let's go ahead and go to the face here. And actually, I'm going to go with a little bit more intense red because I think that would be fun. Let me go with a little intense red. And well, let's go to a different brush here. And let's see here. Let's try this. Yeah. Yeah, just that nice little sharp red, brilliant red there. And let's give her a little bit of maybe a brilliant red border on her shirt there. just a tinge here. And I'm going to knock down that nose now. And then we'll add some more texture. We can actually add texture to the face too. So let's try that. Let's go ahead and use one of these brushes for adding texture to the face. Let's go a little bit more intense. And I'll raise the brush up. Now, just so you know, some brushes, depending on how you choose the settings, really the opacity is not going to matter as far as what you put for opacity. It just isn't going to matter. And then some brushes, it will. So, for example, if I go over here to one of the pre-made brushes, which is the shale brush, which right there, I love the shale brush. It's an amazing brush for comic book work or just scripty stuff, but it also does, like if I just want to put a little bit of a, think of it like I'm a little bit of a, ooh, gotta be careful not to double tap the this part because it'll switch between the eraser and the brush. I usually will turn mine off. And you can do that in Procreate, is to say, don't do that, so to speak. I've just gotten used to it because of all my years demoing with Apple. I was like, well, it's going to be there. Might as well just get used to it. So, all right. So, and let's go. Now we got a sharp, I've ignored this eye a little bit and see how much time we're doing. Oh, we're doing well. We got 5 minutes. I want to go ahead and put a little bit more intensity onto that. And then we're going to go here. And I'm going to go back to my baking pan brush, just go down here. And actually I created a second one just because I wanted to see what I could do as far as I was teaching class, and I made a different variable of it. So it's fun to make multiple ones, and you never know what you're going to get. Let's go ahead and do just a little bit. And this is what I love about my baking pan brushes. I can really kind of chisel that area that needs to be in there, and then I can then just go and use my smudge tool and smudge in that eye there. And then let's go darker on the lash. So let's just get a little bit darker lash here. There we go. And then we're going to use the blue just to highlight the lash a little bit, just so that we know that's there. She's got this really wonderful highlight on the rim of her eyelid. We're going to include that. Kind of gets lost here, so and I need to carve the eye just a little bit. So we're going to carve that pupil just a little bit so that matches in here. And then I need a little bit of a highlight there. Let's see how this looks. It looks a little weird. And sometimes that's where you got to deviate from the photo, because what works in a photo doesn't always work here. And I kind of like it's just too bright here. It's just too much attention. So I'm never going to dumb it down. There. I feel better about that. That feels good. So how are we doing here? So 3 minutes. And I'll carve out the nostril a little bit.
Is there a way to undo the last move you've done without going back and
So you can hit the undo button at the bottom
Okay.
left, or you can tap 2 fingers, or redo with 3 fingers. So those are some of the shortcuts
Okay.
that you can do with that. So we'll go ahead and
I see that you don't have, I mean, if you're going to stop exactly at 5 o'clock without talking about your future class, are you going to do that? Or
yeah, I can spend some, I'll be happy to spend some time afterwards. We could talk about that for sure, because that's kind of why I'm doing this demo, is to kind of help raise awareness about the course as well as my mentorship and, you know, sharing. How would you say? Sharing is caring, so to speak. Yeah. So I think I'm just going to soften the edge here. You know, we're going to add a little pink over here. Kind of carve it down just a little bit. Yeah. And so, and let's chisel that lip a little bit. Yeah. And how are we doing on time? Yeah, we're almost out of time. I'm not
Thanks,
gonna be able
Anne-Marie.
I'm sorry.
Anne-Marie's just left, so.
Okay,
Go.
so I'll just go ahead and throw in the gold here. So we'll go ahead and go to one of those Japanese brushes that I've got. Let's see what we can do for an earring. Yeah,
Linda says that's incredible what he's done in less than an hour.
yeah. Thank you. And let's just I'll just put a little bit of something here. And we'll go a little bit darker. There we go.
It looks like your work, Doug.
Thank you. So yeah, this is that's it. And here's the fun part. Another thing that's great about Procreate is that we can go to the wrench and hit video and hit time-lapse replay. So you can actually then see the entire process from beginning to end. You can share this with friends and family, make videos. And I do make videos on my website. And it's just search Liquid Method on YouTube. Or you can go to my website, liquidmethod.com. So as you can see here, this is a great way to kind of share how that painting process goes. And I'll speed it up a little bit, but you can kind of see how it's slowly building out. And there we go. So, it was a quick one. Of course, you spend a little bit more time and you can refine but for what I think total time of painting was 45 minutes.
Yes. That's
So
pretty
yeah.
good.
Yeah, a little 45 minutes, but yeah, speaking to my course, my goal is for everybody to get comfortable enough with Procreate that they know how to paint with it and create with it on the go, how to share files, how to import files, how to create their own brushes and kind of set them on their own journey to, create their own voice with Procreate. I'm not one of these people that says, I'm going to show you how to paint just like me. Nobody should, everybody should have their own voice. I mean, obviously there's influences that everybody's going to have, but the thing is I truly believe that, giving you the tools to create your own voice is the most important thing that I can do as a teacher or a guide, is that, help you find things that, speak to you and help elevate your voice as a creative and as an artist.
Yeah. I can
So
appreciate that.
are you going to, you haven't picked the dates yet, right?
I have not picked the dates yet. Tax season, as we were talking at the beginning of our this
Yeah,
recording, what was me with the taxes and filing. But now that they are out of the way, I'll be I just spoke with Mike today, and he was able to guide me as far as how these work and the courses. So hopefully in the next week we'll have hopefully some dates, or at least work with Mike to find the best schedule, because we don't want to obviously compete with other main events of Mastrius. So just finding that time slot that A, works for everybody, and B, will be the optimal for members on Mastrius.
And then if we, do we have access to the video forever, for a month?
Good question. So my understanding is that if you miss a class, say for something comes up, and I think that for you as a paid member of Mastrius, you will have access to that to watch again or review it for a couple weeks, or maybe it's I think it's either a couple weeks to a month.
Yeah, I don't quote me on that. It's Anna. I'm the
Hi.
coordinator for Mastrius. I think 4 courses is counting on the last day of the course. Then you have 1 month to watch everything again.
Okay, yeah, that's what I seem to remember hearing Mike when we had our little coffee talk today, which I think is great because, I've taken workshops and I diligently take notes and I have to revert back to them, but sometimes it feels like, is that really what he said or they said, or am I missing something? And it's nice to go back and review. Especially, and I still take, digital courses myself. I try to treat I try to think of myself as the constant student. And so I was, doing a course and I literally had to go back and I'm like, man, this is really kind of cool that in this day and age, you can actually do this. Go back, repeat a step. And yeah, that's, I think, the kind of the cool thing. So yeah, this course will be, first one is going to be really kind of getting the controls of Procreate, going over Procreate, the pencil, the controls, how to import, how to export, and then kind of giving you guys some homework to go and, create something and then come back and share with the class, review what you've learned, any new discoveries you may have had, some aha moments or light bulb moments, and then going from there and then going to the next level of, taking a painting that you've already created and reworking it and Procreate and envisioning, how you could take that either painting of course correcting or, like I did with my New York scene, is reimagining that and making something completely new based from a traditional painting that you've had. And then the last one will be, showing you how to make brushes and then kind of giving you an assignment to where you kind of create something on your own. And, and then coming back and sharing, hey, this is what I created, from scratch with Procreate. So, yeah, I hope that gives everyone an idea of what they might expect from this class.
Yeah, it's great.
And does anybody have any questions or anything that they'd like me to review or talk over what I did? I mean, I know I'm doing a demo and I'm kind of working fast, but I'm while it's fresh in your heads, if there's anything that you'd, would like to question, have me revisit.
I have a question.
Sure.
In the gallery, I've used Procreate like twice, and I have things in the gallery that I don't want to have there, and I couldn't see how to delete the pictures that I have in there now.
So if you go to gallery, all you have to do is, let's see if I can find something I'd want to delete.
Yeah.
Well, let's go here because I think this is for my students. Okay, yeah. This is not a big deal here. So if I want to delete something, just swipe from right to left.
Oh, okay.
And this is what I'll be covering as well. So,
Okay.
Stuff like this. So how to organize your gallery.
Yeah.
Because I teach students, I have to have my figure where it kind of tucked away. So I made a stack. So, and I made sure I put one of the portraits up front versus, having the figure work out there because, the students that I work with in the daytime are under 18. So, and as far as, there's so many different styles. So to kind of give you an idea, this was a poster that I did for our local art house theater. And they, let me get rid of the, I don't know if I can, I don't want to, oh, there, we can move it. There we go. Yay. This was for Empire Records, the movie that they were showing. And so because it's an art house, they've employed a lot of local artists to, create posters to help promote the movie, and then allow the artist to sell the posters at the movie. And
Oh,
so this was really cool. And it was my first time. One of my students in my digital class from last fall is part of this group and invited me to take a shot at one of these. And so it was really fun. It was nice to, show up and meet people, because I'm a huge fan of the movie theater there, and to, kind of share the work, and I sold out. So there you go.
It's nice.
So yeah, but as far as the gallery goes, you can have different styles. This was just, it's great for a sketchbook. And, these were the different ideas I had for Empire Records. And you can turn on layers, and these were my thumbnails. So, because I teach commercial art, I have to, teach about creating ideas and coming up with it. And so they wanted me to share my process. And so this was the one that I chose, but then they said, well, I was going to go for, I thought it'd be kind of cool to do a horizontal poster. And they said, no, it's got to be vertical. So, I just rolled with it from there. And as far as paintings go, there's ways that you can, how would you say, take paintings and do portraits. And when I make my brushes, I test them out here. I'll just go and I'll make a brush and I'll test it out, and I'll say, hey, how does this look? And, I'll, wipe that, delete the layer, and I'll go back and try a different brush and, say, well, how does this look? And this is the fun part about it, is that you can see now part of that Japanese newspaper. And here, well, if we go back to that scene, where are you? Oh, here we go. There you can see, there it is, right there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I didn't want to get in trouble with Coca-Cola, so I just basically kind of mimicked what, it has that old school Coca-Cola feel. And even with here, you can see parts of McDonald's sign there. And
Yeah.
here you give the sense of a sign, but it's not a sign, and you don't have to worry about spelling things out. And that's one thing I learned in plein air is you don't have to spell everything out. Here I had a brush, and it looks like, at a glance, like there's letters on there. And so it's a wonderful thing, and you can create different textures. And that's one thing we'll be going over is, the different layers and how to mask, how to put screens on to kind of help give your work a mood, a unifying mood, if you will, kind of like toning your canvas.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But yeah.
Can I
Have any questions?
Yeah, can I ask you a question again about like, I will probably need, if I want to do this, I mostly have an iPad mini, which is going to be, it'll work, but it's too small really if I wanted to get into this. So I went on to the Apple site, and there's 4 million different kinds of Apple iPads. There's the iPad Pro, the iPad Air, the iPad 10th generation, the 9th generation. And then it's a question of, do you want it with cellular or not with cellular? Do you have any recommendations?
Yeah, just go with the basic iPad. Just go with the basic iPad. Really, that you don't need a Pro. You don't, for anybody starting out, you don't need a Pro. I would say is, if you take a lot of photos like I do, you might want to get more storage space, spend the money on the storage space.
And what kind of storage space would 256 would be enough? 500?
Yes, 256. Unless you're doing video on your iPad, 256 will be fine. It just, I would just say is, you're going to get a lot of bang out of your mileage out of that iPad. At 256, you could go less. You could go 128. That'd be fine too. If you're, unless you're a heavy media person like me, 128 should be more than enough for anybody. You don't need a Pro you're not going to notice the difference. That's one thing I have to say that I love working at Apple is we were not upselling people. We basically were like listening. What do you need? This is what, here, what do you want? What do you want to do in the next year or two? And then we don't oversell you. And I think you could go into an Apple store and they would, you would be steered right.
And do you see a point in getting there's the iPad Air, which I'm assuming is the lightest iPad. Is that, I mean, if you want to be walking around with that, do you know anything about that sort of stuff?
I would just get the regular iPad.
Right. Okay.
Just get the regular iPad, the iPad Air. I mean, it's just get the cheapest iPad you can with at least 128. 64 is okay, but the apps and everything can eat up some space. And just get I would say get 128 and you'll be fine. Get the cheapest iPad you can. I don't believe in size matters. I mean, you're actually paying. When I left Apple, the iPad mini was a little bit more because you're paying for portability.
Right, which is why I love it. I have it and I love it.
And you can get the iPad mini, and I've drawn on the iPad mini. I like the 11.5 inch. I find the 12 inch too big.
Okay.
I think it's 12.9 and it's not that much bigger, but it feels like the 11 inch is fantastic. It's portable. You can slide. It's the size of a book. It's great. It's the size of a notebook, and there's so many other great programs in there. I mean, it's just I can't say enough. I could get a big one, but I don't need to.
Okay.
Just like the Wacom tablets, I could have gotten a big one, but I didn't want to because I wanted desk space, and I felt there really was no advantage to have a giant one. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. It really helps. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else have any questions? Need me to review anything as far as techniques or questions about the course or as far as mentorship? Okay.
Thanks, Doug.
Well,
You've been very generous.
Yeah, I've had a blast meeting with all of you and sharing. Did we check? I see there's 11 chats in there. Have we checked those?
I have checked them. We had let's see.
Sorry, I arrived.
Anne said thank you very much. She had to leave. Marlene said amazing. Tina said thanks, very interesting. Linda said I totally love this demo and will be taking the course. Can't wait. And she had to go make supper. So
okay. Well, I know that feeling all too well. I am the cooking family.
yeah.
So, well, thank you all. I really appreciated you sharing your time with me and getting to share, my passion for art in general. And hopefully this will be, if you do decide to take my course or do the mentorship, sharing my process and how I come up with ideas and inspirations and how to be as creative as possible.
Yeah, great.
Thank you, Doug.
Thanks.
All right, thank you so much.
This
You all
was-
have a wonderful evening.
Bye, Dee.
Good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Dee.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Talk to you soon. Take care.
Yeah, take care, everybody.